All right. So we'll begin with community. So how to get a user and then how to navigate the platform. So if you're a secretary, you should have a user by now. If not, you can contact me. My email is going to be at the end of the presentation, or you can contact your lieutenant governor and they can help you make an account. So I'm going to, what happened? Oh, wait, Miss Brisley, can you make me host again? I think I gave you the permission and I can't share my screen anymore.
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay. I think if you just select the three dots by my name, you can make me a host.
Okay.
Sorry
Make
about this.
host.
Okay. Okay, we're back. We're back.
Now make me a co-host because I just unco-hosted myself. There we
Okay.
go.
Is it still recording?
If not, I'll start it again.
Okay, well, we'll move on. So I'm logged into Community using the secretary for my school's account because mine looks a little bit different. So this is what your platform should look like. So it'll show you your school. So my school is YWPA, and then it'll show you every month when you go to monthly reports. So if it'll load. Okay, so this is what your monthly report should look like. So the first few toggles here are has your lieutenant governor contacted your club this month? So that would be either if they sent you a personal communication, they called you, anything like that. And then did your club receive a monthly electronic bulletin from your lieutenant governor? So that's their newsletters. And every month your lieutenant governor should be sending a newsletter. So just make sure to check that off. Then here, membership number of paid members who participated this month. That's your current membership total. So I know a lot of you probably just had your like club fairs, you're collecting dues. So it'll be what it's currently at now. Um, and if it changes later, you would just update that on your next month's report. So looking at the monthly report, first it's going to show a section for any events that you had, and then projects. So for example, here my club, they do weekly board meetings. So that's what these are, 12 members present. That's the amount of people in the board. And then comments is kind of like a recap of what happened in the meeting. So she says the president called the meeting to order. We discussed this, and this. And those you would like the information that you collect here, you can do it off of memory, but I recommend going off of your meeting minutes, which I will be going over in a bit. So here again, just board meeting, board meeting. Then here we have Casey. So that's the Key Club Kickoff Conference, if you don't know. So 12 members from our club attended, and just a really brief that they attended Casey and they worked in workshops. And then here's a club meeting. So these are the 68 members that attended our meeting. Again, you would toggle if you had any guests, and I'll edit it now so that you guys can see what it looks like and how you can edit that. And then comments, again, just kind of going off of the meeting minutes. And it's really helpful that you guys are descriptive with your monthly reports because your lieutenant governors will use this when doing their own reports or just like being able to keep track of your club. It's helpful that I use as much detail as possible. Um, and actually, let me retract that. You include the essential information because we don't need to know like every single word that was spoken in your meeting, but just make sure you're covering the important stuff. Then next is the section for projects. So this one, PB&J sandwiches, that was the project that we did during the meeting. And if you remember here, our total was 78 members in our club. However, only 58 were present at that meeting. So that's what you would reflect. And then just a brief description of the project. And then when you list a project, you also have to include it in a certain category and it'll show you a toggle for that. So I'll show that in a second. And then governor's project. Do you guys know what the long-term service project is? Anyone? Sophia, I see you raising your, like shaking your head. Do you know, could you explain a little bit?
Oh, well, I guess it's just like helping like poor or like in communities.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thank you. So the long-term service project is a project that's going to last 4 years across our district. This year is called Strive to Thrive. And like she said, it'll be mostly targeting like impoverished communities. So, for example, making PB&J sandwiches for the homeless community that would fall under that project. And it's really important that if your project falls under this, you toggle it because it'll contribute to awards when like you're applying for an award that falls under the governor or the long-term service project. It also helps us to calculate our total hours for the district. So it's really important that you do that. And then these three things are just other service projects that the club participated in. So here I'm going to go and edit it so you guys can see what it looks like. Okay. So these are all the events. If I want to add one, I would go to add meeting. So here you can select the type. So a club meeting, a board meeting, these are like divisional events, and then other K family events to select what you want it to be. So let's say it's a club meeting and I had 56 members present. I would select the date, and then this is where you would say, did you have a Kiwanis advisor present? Was your faculty advisor present? Which in most cases they are, and then any other guests. And then here you would just describe what that meeting was. And then the same thing goes for projects. So here you would write whatever it's called, the date, members present, hours performed. It's really important when you are doing hours performed. I know a lot of the times we'll tend to inflate hours for members. So say we're doing um like a making cards for elderly people, right? They'll make 2 cards and we'll give them 5 hours. Of course, they're not actually performing that service for 5 hours. So it's really important that on your monthly reports you reflect the accurate hours. So they probably maybe spent an hour doing that. So you would multiply that 1 hour by however many members were present. And it's fine if to your members, like for community service, you want to give them 5 hours, but just make sure that when you're reporting it, you're only reporting the actual hours that it was. Then again, a description, you type if it was a governor's project, and then you explain the type of project. Any questions about monthly reports at all?
So Andrea,
Yeah.
for the total hours performed, so per se there was a project that was like like it was like a service event or
Mhm.
something that was 2 hours long and
Yeah.
like hypothetically 56 members showed up.
Mhm.
56 times 2. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and if you wanted to give them a different amount, like you want to give them 4 hours for doing it, because I know we'll use that a lot as an incentive to get participation, that's fine. But just make sure again that you're reporting only the accurate hours. Okay, let me go back to this. So that was it about community. Monthly reports. A big thing about monthly reports is that they're due the 10th of every month, and that deadline does not change. If you signed up for this webinar through an email they got from the Florida district, it has a blue background. In that email, I also included a secretary group chat on WhatsApp, and through there, I will also be sending reminders. And if you didn't get a chance to join that, I also included the information at the end of the presentation. Okay, let me go back to officer information form. So I'm gonna be going over what the required positions are, how to like put in the contacts, and then like deadlines. So this still is on your community platform. You'll just go to the section here that says officer information forms. And you can check here for like past years. So for example, this was last year's OIF. So this year, my club has their Instagram listed. If you do have an Instagram, it's really important that you put that because it's also great for lieutenant governors to keep track of what you do. Because, we can't talk to you all the time, but if we can go into your Instagram and see, oh, you had a club meeting last week and you did this event, that's a really great way to keep tabs. So these are all the positions. To be considered a complete OIF, all that is required is president, secretary, treasurer, faculty advisor, and Kiwanis advisor. So like VP, editor, webmaster, those things are not absolutely required, but we do still want them. But just like technically, you only need those positions that I listed. So you'll have your name, your phone number, and very, very important, make sure that the emails that you input are personal emails and they're not school emails because a lot of the time the emails created by your school districts will block our communications. So make sure they're personal. And if you've already done your officer information forms and you know that there were some school emails, you can always just go back here and edit them and ask for personal emails. So these are really important. For communications from your district, from the lieutenant governors, so they'll send your newsletters with this information if they want to have any personal contact or reach out to your club, they'll go through here. And hopefully an intended deadline for your OIFs is the end of October. It really is super quick. And I'm gonna take a guess that if you're here, you're probably an active secretary, so you've probably done these. But if not, no worries. You have until the end of October to fill these out. So any questions about officer information forms? No? Okay, great. So next is, so that's kind of all that we're going to cover for community. And then next is meeting minutes. So I've created a sample agenda that we're going to look at, and then some sample meeting minutes based off of those agendas. So again, meeting minutes should be guided by your agendas, even if it's a club board meeting or just a regular meeting. You should be creating an agenda. Your president usually the one that drafts that. So use that to do your minutes. I'll be talking about how you really need to record like the essential stuff, and then how accurate minutes are helpful for filling out monthly reports. So kind of how I talked about, you can refer to what you write in your meeting minutes when filling out your monthly reports, because we can expect you to remember everything that happens by the time you have to fill out your monthly reports. So if you're taking good meeting minutes as things occur, it's going to be helpful for you in the long run. Okay, so here is a sample of a meeting agenda that I've created. All of these things will be made available to you guys after. So I have your emails from your registration. I'll share it through there. And then some of these materials will also be uploaded onto the Florida Key Club website. And when that happens, I will update you. So this is the Pig High School, Florida High School. I made it up, and these are all the names of your district officers. So not actual, well, they are actual people, but they're not real in this club. So this is a sample. So you would put the date you're having the meeting and your time frame. So 3 to 4, that would be like after school. So first, your president would do welcome, call to order. There's not really a set way to do this. It's however you guys like to do it in your club. Maybe you'll follow with the Key Club pledge. Then you'll go over old business. So for example, in my club, we have member of the month each month, and that's based off of whoever had the most service hours in the last month, or whoever showed like excellent commitment to Key Club will award the member of the month, and we usually give them a cupcake. So that would be considered old business, and you would name that person. And then maybe your treasurer will talk about fundraising and say, you know, this is how much money we have in the account right now. We had a fundraiser last week. We made so and so. That would be considered old business. Then moving on to new business, maybe you'll introduce whatever service project you're having during the meeting, give a rundown of that. Divisional activities, maybe your division is having a DCM at the end of the month, and you promote it there to your members for attendance. And then membership requirements. So my club, for example, we require that members have a set number of hours completed every quarter, that they don't miss a certain amount of meetings. So maybe you'll talk about that. And then maybe your faculty advisor wants to give some remarks, so that could be included in your minutes, and then just adjournment. So keeping in mind this agenda, let's look at the minutes that I drafted up. So again, we have your school, the club, the date, and the time. So we'll go welcome, call to order. So our president called the meeting to order at this time. Then the Key Club pledge, this person led the pledge. Old business, then this person announced this person as member of the month. Fundraising, our treasurer said that we made $500, and they announced a pizza sale that we're having next week, and they asked for volunteers. Then new business, our president introduced our project. So we're making cards for an elderly home. The due date for the cards is this day, and we're awarding 1 hour per 2 cards made by the club. Then on to divisional activities, our vice president promoted an upcoming DCM, and they shared the link to register through a QR code. And that's important so that you know that during this meeting, people were able to sign up. Then membership requirements, like I said, with my own club, we have 5 service hours per quarter. Here I put per month, but it can vary. And then a requirement for meetings. And then faculty advisor gave their remarks, and then adjournment. The president adjourned this meeting at this time. So this is just a rough outline, and by no means do you have to follow this. I know this might be a little bit daunting because it looks so official. This is a sample, and when I make this available, if you want, you can literally just copy and paste this, so you don't have to worry about that. But you can also do them more informally. So if you wanted to do bullet points with all these fancies, like I, double I, 3I, you don't have to do that. It's up to you, but I just wanted to give you guys an example and show you how going off the agenda can help you guide your meeting minutes. Any questions about minutes and agendas? No. Okay. So moving on, tracking service hours. I did get a lot of questions about this and the registration. So you guys were wondering, what is a key club hour? Can I track my like service hours efficiently? So I'm gonna be going over that. So I've made a guide for tracking service hours that I will also make available to you. And it's kind of like a template that you just input your club's activity in. I'm gonna be talking about kind of what I was discussed before, like inflating hours. So maybe you perform 56 hours, but you give members even more. Make sure that you're reflecting that accurately. And then I'm gonna be talking about what exactly is a key club service hour because there are kind of rules about that. So I'm gonna start with the sample guide that I made. So here, this is on Google Sheets. Let me open it. Okay, so this is a sample again of what my club does, but I've just made it generic. So here it's divided by grade. So in this universe, I have 2 members per grade, but that's probably not accurate for you. So you would make the certain amount of rows for each member in that grade. Then you'd put their ID number. You don't have to do ID number, but for example, in Miami-Dade County, to input service hours, you need to have like their student ID. So it's just easy to track it there. Then each column is a certain service project. So for example, on August 30th, the club made elderly cards and it was 1 hour per card. Here I've input 2, meaning that they made 2 cards. So that's like how many hours they got for that day. Then here they did back to school packages. It was 2 hours for participation. I put 2, so that means that like they did it once, if that makes sense. And then here's just an example. So here it's blank because they didn't attend that event. Then Casey, and just a bunch of other events. Then here at the total, you'll see that it calculated how many hours they have based off that. So here the Thanksgiving food drive, they got 3 hours. Now their total is 11. And this will help you keep track for member like hours for the entire Key Club year. And then you can just refer to this to see what they have. So this person, Jane Doe, got 11 hours. I didn't fill in the rest of them because it's not necessary, but here I did want to show for members that you put on probation. I know not every club does this, but for example, how I said my club, we require 5 hours. If someone was under that 5-hour mark, I would put their little box here in red just to show that they are on probation. And then if they continue in that state, then they would be removed for the club. But just to show you like how you can adapt it to different situations within your club. Any questions about this? Okay, this is just really simple, easy to duplicate, and I'll be sharing it with you guys after. Okay, all right, so again,
There's a question in the chat.
oh,
How
sorry.
do we give member individual hours?
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So it depends on your school. Usually, like for my school, for example, we go through our counselor that handles like service hours. So really your job here is just to track what they got for the month. And then it depends by your school. So that'd be like a better question for your counselor. But us, for example, there's a letter that we have to turn into the counselor saying this person completed this many hours through Key Club, and then you would have your secretary or the president or the faculty advisor sign off on it, for example. You turn it into your counselor, and then they would update it into the system, like the actual school district system. And you can turn on that letter on their behalf, or you can also do maybe like in your last Key Club meeting, give everyone those letters that are signed, and then it's their responsibility to turn them in. Did that answer your question? Okay, I'll keep going.
They haven't responded back yet, so
Okay.
keep going though.
Okay, let me
Yep.
know if it said anything.
Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so just a reminder again, don't inflate Key Club hours, only record the time performing the service. So if they went to a Casey for 2 hours, it would just be those 2 hours. So this is a resource that's available on the Florida Key Club website. And I've included a link here. So when you have the presentation, you can go to it. So this is our Florida Key Club website. You're gonna have to scroll down to here, definition of a service hour. And it'll take you to this Google Doc that kind of explains like what is a service hour. Because for example, I know we might want to give members an hour for like donating a box of chips for a fundraiser, but that doesn't technically count under like our Key Club bylaws. So here's what a service project would be. So Anything that actually improves the community. So for example, that box of chips is benefiting the club and raising money. It's not anything for the community. Book drives, food drives. Important though, hours are not given based off of what they donate because that kind of restricts people that are like have any financial barriers. So it'd be like their actual participation in the event. If you do again want to give them those hours, that would just be apart from Key Club. So when you're reporting on the monthly reports, you wouldn't include that. Okay. Serving as a host club for a decon or an icon, any conventions that they attended. What else? And yeah, just participating in any service projects that are hosted by the division or the district. And those service projects will always like be approved beforehand. So you'll know that those are Key Club projects. You don't have to worry about that. This is what does not count. So just attending the event does not count. It's like if they do service at the event. So for example, some Key Club kickoff conferences might have like a sandwich making event during the event. That would be the service hour. It would not just be going to the event. Yeah, giving rides, any internships, anything like that. It's again, it's just like anything that does not directly help the community, it doesn't count as a Key Club hour. But you can go at any time to this document. It gives some more like tips and tricks for certain officers. This is another sample guide for tracking hours, but I don't really recommend this one because it's kind of confusing with time worked and hours. I would just recommend using the one that I created. Again, yeah, just a little overview here.
So if a Key Club does like a canned food drive
Mhm.
for like a local food bank in their community,
Mhm.
does that count as Key Club hours or does that count as a
Yeah.
service project?
Okay, it's kind of a hard question because by these laws, it's like you can't give participation by what they donate. So in that case, it wouldn't be that someone who donated 20 cans got more hours than someone that donated one. It would just be kind of like a blanket for any participation, they would get 2 hours or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions on service hours?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
They don't count planning this project as an hour. Should I still keep track of those like service planning hours as secretary?
Like the work that goes into planning a service project?
Yes, they don't count that as like a community service
Yeah,
hour.
it doesn't. If you want to give that to your officers for like the school district, you totally can, but when you're reporting, it doesn't count. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So next we'll move on to communications. So again, in the registration form, I did get some questions about how to do sign-ins for big groups or big clubs. So I'll be going over that. And then the secretary group chat I talked about as well. So what I like to do for large groups is I like to do a Google form. So for example, if you're having a club meeting and you want to do attendance, instead of like passing around a paper, what you could do is display if you have like a presentation, for example, you could do like a QR code on the screen and they can scan that and that would take them to a Google form. And I find that Google Forms are really easy because they're just easy to track, and then you can also turn it into a Google sheet after and you can see it all in like the rows and columns, and I think that's very helpful. So that's helpful for again like tracking attendance at events and then also tracking participation. So for example, the secretary at my club, after a meeting, she'll send a Google form in our group chat saying fill this out, saying how many cards you made, for example, and then based off of that she would go and like report their hours on the tracking sheet. If you don't have a board present, I mean, I'm talking as in like a digital board where you could put a QR code. A good like sheet always works, like go around and just track that. Or maybe if you're having a service project, you can have like a sign-in sheet at the door for people to sign that. There's not really much to say. Does anyone have questions about like signing in for stuff? Okay. Then the next is club group chats or Remind. So I know a lot of clubs like to use a WhatsApp group chat. That's what I personally prefer, just because it's easy to send like images. If people want to respond, you can see how many participants. I think that's really great. But you can also use Remind. That's an app. And you can send stuff there, but it's kind of harder because people can't reply to you directly. So that's not my preferred method. But I do like WhatsApp. And then I also wanted to talk about Instagram. And this isn't so specific to the secretary role, but just something to keep in mind and to bring back to your club boards. That the Instagram is really important to promote and highlight your events. So to broadcast, that we're having a meeting this Thursday, where it is, or if you're having a service project to let them know. I think that's a great way to do that. Any questions about anything here? Okay. So I'll move on. This is the secretary group chat that I mentioned earlier that I run. You guys are free to join. Just scan the QR code there. You can ask questions at any time, and I or any other secretaries can answer your questions. I'll also be sending reminders about deadlines. So, for example, monthly reports will always do the 10th of the month. So if you forget, don't worry, I'll remind you. And just anything else, for example, if like the district is hosting another webinar like this, I could let you know there. So has everyone scanned it that needs to? Okay, I'll move on. All right, so that is the end of our presentation. So now I just wanted to open it up to Q&A if there's any questions that I didn't address. And here again is my email. And then if you want to contact me on Instagram or just connect, it's there. So any questions? None at- Okay.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question.
Yeah.
So for the few months that like we were in summer,
Mhm.
some of us didn't have access to community.
Mhm.
So and like the deadlines for I forgot what they're called for
The
like
monthly reports.
yeah, the monthly reports
Yeah.
weren't able to get in. So will that like count against us at all?
Only if you're submitting like an award, for example.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah.
Awards? Okay, yeah, I think it will only affect you there, but if the issue was that you didn't have an account, like did you reach out for an account and no one made it for you?
We didn't know like who exactly to reach out because it was like so
Okay.
early in the year.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
yeah, it was kind of hard to
No
do
worries.
that.
So I don't know the exact requirements for the awards, but if it's like a circumstance like that, the awards committee has their own email or there's an awards
Mhm.
chair. You can find that on the Florida Key Club website. And if you have a circumstance like that, I would recommend maybe emailing the chair or Riza
Mhm.
and explaining and seeing if that would affect you at all. But I honestly wouldn't be too worried because the summer reports aren't that like substantial. So as long as you're
Mhm.
consistent with all the other ones, I think you're fine. And you also can go back and edit reports even after the deadline has passed. So I don't know if they would still take that, but if they do, maybe you can just go back and report your summer ones.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when you said that you multiply the number of hours with the number of members involved in the meeting, so
Yeah.
since there's like 1 hour and 43 members, does that mean I would put like 43 hours or still 1 hour?
You would put 43.
43?
Because you're putting the total of like how many hours performed by all of your members.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it now. Alright.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Any other questions? Someone said, just to clarify, when we fill out monthly reports, we wouldn't report any hours for donations from drives. So you can report the hours for donations, but it's not like by donation. So as I said earlier, like you can't give someone more hours because they donated more, because that would restrict them like because of financial barriers. So you would just like for everyone that donated something, say like 20 people donated, they would all get, 1 or 2 hours. It'd be like a blanket kind of like amount of hours for just participation. If that makes sense. Any other question?
Real quick,
Yeah.
where's this video gonna go? Like,
It is recording, right? Because I can't really see. Oh, okay, it is recording. Yeah, it'll go on the Florida Key Club YouTube channel.
oh, okay.
And I'll send an email when it's posted.
Alright, thank you.
No problem. I don't know how much it will include though, because I know we had some like issues with the recording, but hopefully it worked. Okay, someone says, what about committee reports? What does the secretary need to include? Can you explain what you mean by committee reports? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Are you talking about the monthly reports? Any other questions in the meantime while she types?
I had a question about when you were talking about the club board and like the club board meetings. Do you
Mhm.
mean like when like the officers have their own meeting?
Yes.
Like in the club? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. And someone asked a question earlier if you get hours for planning projects. And I said not official Key Club hours, and that is still true. But if you want to give hours to your like officers that are planning an event or like planning a meeting, you are free to do that. Just make sure you're not reporting that on the monthly report. Any other questions? Okay. I'm going to end my sharing. Okay, I want to thank you guys all so much for attending. I know it's a Monday night, but I really appreciate you guys taking the time coming to learn about your positions. And please feel free at any time to send me an email, ask a question. Like, I'm your peer. So thank you guys for coming. And if you have any other questions, you are free to stay behind, but if not, you can go. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you guys. Have a good
Bye.
night.
Thank you, you too.
Good night.
Good night. Sophia, did you have a question? I didn't really understand what you meant by committee report. Oh, okay, well she left. Miss Brisley, I think you can stop recording. I don't really know how to do that.